Hello again. I'm going to talk. The title I came up with for us today was Invisible Enemy, Invisible Adversary, Invisible Ally. Some more complicated words than I would usually use, but had to go with something. Like Reverend Daybury was really pushing me for a title. So I was like, okay. But I'll tell you where it came from. I just took my kids. I have 3 kids. And I took them to England to see my mother. On the way back, I was watching a James Bond movie. I haven't seen one for ages. So anyway, there's a scene where M says to Bond, I'm not going to do the accent, even though I'm half doing the accent. He goes, we used to be able to get in the room with the enemy. We used to be able to get in the room with the enemy. Look them in the eye. But now the enemy is floating around in the ethers, is what he says. Now, he's talking about biological warfare. I'm not going to talk about biological warfare. But it's this idea that there's something out there that we can't put a finger on. And the same thing that's out there is of massive support to us. That's what I wanted to speak about. You know, I'm in my mid-40s now. I well remember 9/11. And I would say it's really since then that there's been a sense of paranoia around. Something you can't put your finger on. And certainly since COVID of the last couple of years. And if you look at some of the more aggressive issues in politics these days, and I'm not going to give voice to them because we're in church, and we need a break from it, but no longer is there problems out there. The problems are now being invited into our community, at our dinner table. This is where division is happening. And I'm sorry, because I do have to go into the wah-wah for a little bit this morning, but I'm going to come out of it as well. Because I think as children of God and responsible people, we have to look at both of these. Have to be aware of what the concern or the problem is to elevate it, to alchemize it as well. And so what is if you look at us as humans, how is it a problem? How is it a problem for us that there's an invisible concern? Well, first of all, we're creatures of structure, of form. We're physical. We have physical bodies. We label things. We identify them. If we were to go out for dinner or something like that, the question that would be asked, it would be, what do you do? That's the question. That's the question. What do you do? Not what's important to you, what matters to you, what are your values? No, it's what do you do, right? We're linked with, we are boiled down to something we do for a few years and may do something after that. That's what happens because people want to identify things. They want to put a name and understand it, and it's how we are. We also struggle with truth. We struggle with the truth, and that often uncomfortable and opposite truths can share the same space. I'll give you an example of that. We're all comfortable in here, we're all well enough, and the other side of the world there is a war going on. We all know about this. This is just how it is. I could even look at New Thought by itself and say, well, we all know it's true that the infinite dwells in us, that all of the solutions are out there, that the one source connects us all. But I would say probably 1/4 to half of the people in this room are not feeling like that today. And both of those things are true. Maybe more, maybe less. But both those things are true. We want one truth, but often there aren't, because we're in a very complex tapestry of fabric of consciousness. Aware more and more of it every day. And our awareness is raising too. I don't think there are more problems in the world than there have ever been, but I do think we know about them. And you add that to an already tired mind and tired brain, and many of you, and I work with this every day with people, by the way, many of you who are tired, it's not because you're physically tired, it's because you're taking on. It's because you're taking on, and what you're taking on you can't see, And Mark Twain, who said a lot of colorful things. One of the things he said was, men look to miracles. Mankind looks to miracles because he does not see miracles in his own life. He says, cease to gnaw that crust and look for the ripe fruit that's right in front of you. But we tend not to. We tend to look away. We go to our phones. We leave the present moment. And I'm not grumbling about it. It's how we're wired. But this makes a problem for us, working with that which we cannot see. If I were to take you into meditation, a nice meditation, someone might say at the end of it, oh, that was nice, back to the real world, back to reality, We'll say that. See, I can't show you your thoughts. I can't show you your emotions. I can't get one of the cups out the cupboard there and say, here you are, here's what you think. It doesn't dwell there. But I'm sure they're very, very real to you. Very real. And if I was to ask you for one of your thoughts, I mean, some of you might say, oh, I'm thinking of a blue bird right now. A blue bird, there's a thought. It's like, well, no, you've just given me sound waves. You haven't given me a thought. And if you were to give me an emotion, there might be a few more sound waves and maybe discoloration of the cheeks and a few hand wavies. But I still wouldn't have been given the essence of what gave that. All that we can do for each other, the only way we can communicate our thoughts and emotions is by just that, is by expression, is by magnification. You see, the thing is, we have a choice of what we do with that, but we don't know it. And one of the things I want to offer to you today is to reclaim that choice. We think we're the victim of our thoughts and our emotions, and we're not. We're not. We just don't handle them the right way. See, the common view of thoughts is, even meditation, is shut them out. Go into meditation. Ignore your thoughts. Common clinical science would say, you don't like your thoughts, well, let's suppress them. Positive thinking would say, you don't like your thoughts, think other ones. Think positive. None of that is actually dealing with it. And if you've ever sat in a dirty bathtub of dirty water, it's going to come back to you at some point, isn't it? Surely at some point you think, well, I'll just pull the plug out and put some fresh water in. But we don't. And some people can sit in that tub for decades. Decades. So, I've given you the what. I've given you the invisible adversary. Let's talk about the invisible ally, because that is there. That is there. If I can get this right, the Gospel of Thomas, because I've got to get my Bible out at some point today, or I won't be allowed to come back. So let me get it out at some point. Gospel of Thomas, and this is a good one. Apparently it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls as well. If we bring forth that which is within us, that which is within us will save us. If we do not bring forth that which is within us, that which is within us will destroy us. That's pretty binary, isn't it? It's up or down. It's up or down. You know, some of you are probably familiar with Matt Kahn. He's wonderful. You know, one of the things he said is, instead of asking, what do I think, ask, what is it in me that thinks? Instead of asking, what is it in me that or what do I hear, ask, what is it in me that hears? Instead of asking, what do I see, ask, who is it in me that sees? And in that, we're going behind the thought. We're going not to source, I didn't say that, but we're going to our source. And that's clearer and that's cleaner. And in that, there's a little bit of distance created. And I'm saying distance, I'm not saying disconnect. I'm saying distance, not separation and not division. When I arrived here yesterday, I pulled up, I looked at this church from the outside, a beautiful church. I went to the door and it was locked, right? It was locked. And so, what do? You wait for someone with a key to turn up. It's very simple. You're following me still. And so, it is true that the infinite is in our hands. It is true that it's all out there. And there's a door in the way. And it's locked. It's just that the key is also in the lock. So I want to talk about accessing the ally, as I'm calling it today. I wish I hadn't used that word, but yeah. I want to talk about that. And please, if you're going to listen to anything I say, please can it just be this? Just this. Just this. I'm going low here today. Discomfort is your key. Discomfort. The resonance of discomfort, because that's what it is. If someone comes up to me later on and is rude to me, which I hope doesn't happen, but it could happen, and I don't like that, and I feel uncomfortable, that uncomfortable was already there. They didn't do that to me. They just showed me it was there. And every time that resonance happens, it gets smaller which is also what doesn't get talked about enough. Every time you're uncomfortable, you, in the greater scheme of things, are getting less comfortable. You're making more room for God. If you can observe that, create some distance, and not do what I would call the hot potato dance, which is when someone is rude to you, what do? We fling it straight back at them. And then what does that do? That magnifies it. It makes more of it. There's more unpleasantness in the world. But here's another option. Something happens you don't like, and it will. To pause, not react, and when you are in your own place and time and privacy, to then process it, to feel it, to release it. And that might, now there's a lot of people in the room, it could all be different for each one of you. Some of you would need to cry, some of you would need to write it, some of you would need to get angry, some of you would need to exercise. Some of you would need to laugh to release it. But in that is pulling the plug out of the bathtub. Now, it can be cathartic, but it's not cathartic for long. Any kind of volatile experience, reaction that you have, we're talking minutes, because the body can't sustain a high reactive experience for long. It just can't. As soon as it begins, it's ending, somewhere between 2 and 10 minutes. And I'm telling you, as someone that is a practitioner of this, some people will avoid that for 40 to 50 years. What a shocking, awful waste of life and vitality that is. I wish for you to reclaim the choice. All right, I got a question. What is the first rule of Fight Club? Someone tell me. Come on. We don't talk about Fight Club. What's the second rule of Fight Club? Not you. We don't talk about Fight Club. Okay. So most of you have seen it. So we've got the character who meets another character. They start a fight club. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. And then we discover at the end of the movie that the second guy wasn't real. Sorry if I've just ruined it. Oh, great. All right. So I'm not coming back next year. All right. So I'm just going to enjoy myself. But all of us are fighting. All of us are resisting. We're all resisting something that we cannot see, and we're all not talking about it, and we're all not talking about it. And so, I'm not suggesting you all go out there and do core dumps on anyone that will listen, but I am encouraging you in the deepest level of my being to express it to yourself. Because not everyone can hear us, not everyone wants to. Not everyone can handle it. A lot of people out there are full. But you have the responsibility for your life. And God can only do through each of you what he or she can do through each of you. Your resistance, your discomfort is a key to something magnificent. Please don't ignore it. And please don't run from it. You know, I'm weeks away from becoming a US citizen, actually. I passed my test. Oh. That's a better reaction than I thought I would get. I will be one of you soon. And so I've done the whole life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness dance for a few weeks, and I passed and everything. And so there's this word freedom that keeps coming up. It's an interesting word, an idea that to be a citizen of this country, one is entitled to it. And I'm scratching my head about this. You take the word DOM and add it to another word. What you have done is you have conveyed a state of being. You've not conveyed something physical. You see, I have in this moment, because I'm a permanent resident, green card holder, I have freedom of speech right now. That does not give me freedom from the consequences of my speech. It just means I can say it. And so in a few minutes when I get off the stage, I am going to be responsible and I will have the consequences for everything that I've said. And if there is a freedom that I want to invite for myself and any and all of you, it's freedom from the confines of your perceptions. It's freedom from attachments. It's freedom from neediness. Freedom from dominance, freedom from control, and all of these things that you can't see. All of these things that are invisible. You know, there's a prayer that we all make from time to time. All of us. It's the best prayer of all of them. It sounds something like, ah! Or sometimes it starts with, shh. I don't have the guts to say that word in here. I should do, but I don't have the guts. But you know, what's in that? What's in that prayer, as I want to call it? Why am I calling it a prayer? Why am I calling it a prayer? Because it's an honest call. It's a call of surrender. In that vowel or word, whatever comes out of your mouth, what you're actually saying is, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do. And I give up to something higher. I don't give up, but I give up to something higher that does know. That's what's in well, for me, it's usually profanity. I'm just going to be honest with you. But that's what's in it. That is one of the greatest prayers you will ever make, that will also turn the key of that door, lock. I didn't say it will open it massively. I didn't say there's going to be a flood rushing towards you, but I'm saying it's going to open it a bit. And it's a door that swings shut as well. You know, I gave you the prayer of St. Francis. I'm very interested in him. I'm interested in Yogananda. I'm interested in Eric Butterworth. These people that have come since Jesus, that have made their own way, that have figured it out themselves. You know, I see us as, if you like the concept of children of God, which I do, it's like we're all given some Lego bricks. But some of us will look at them and they'll put them together. Some of us will throw them on the ground and then accidentally step on them in the middle of the night. And some of us will put some together, and some of us will put them together very loosely. And you've all built something with Lego before. If you put them together loosely, it all falls apart, doesn't it? But each of you, you've got your own bricks. Those that came before us, the great men, the great women, they did it themselves from their own essence, from their own truth. I'll tell you something funny about myself. August the 4th, 2061, I believe, is the day I'm going to leave this earth. I'm probably wrong. I'm wrong about lots of things. But I'm just using that day because Halley's Comet will come around. And I was very interested in Halley's Comet when I was younger. It's actually part of British history, Harold and all of that. It's well further back than that. August the 4th, 2061 gives me just over 14,200 days left, which is a bit over 340,000 hours. Now, I'm probably wrong. It's a little higher or it's a little lower or whatever it is. But it's a number. There is a number, and it's not going up. It's going down. It's going downwards. That number's getting smaller every single day. I like to think about this, one, because I'm quite happy with what comes out afterwards. Very happy, actually. But also because it gives me a sense of all this talk about the infinite. I think we need to think about the finite, too. There is a certain finite amount of time. It helps us value what we have. I was in a car accident once that showed me that these things can happen. It's very possible I won't get to be in front of you again. And this is what I would want to say if I didn't get to see any of you again. I would want you to know. I would want you to be interested in what you can't see. That what is out there is influencing you in a not great way. And what is out there that is influencing you in greater than the greatest way. As close as your eyelids, as close as your heartbeat. I wish that for you. I'll just close by just going back to the Gospel of Thomas. If you access what is within you, it will save you. Now, you might think, well, I'm not doing anything interesting. And I'm like, that's the whole point. God's not looking at your life and what you're doing and making you look anything better or worse. Not at all. But it matters that you do it. And you follow these little threads of inspiration and truth and hope and enjoyment. And you make it happen. Whatever it is. From the most mundane. Because what happens when you follow that flow, something gets lit up in you. And gets sent right through your energy field. And it stays there. And it's small. But small things can add up. And they can build up. Support can be there for you when you didn't even think it could be, would be. And it's following the small things, not the big things, but doing it consistently. You've all heard of, you all remember Laurel and Hardy. And when after Oliver Hardy passed, some of you may know, Stan Laurel wrote for Laurel and Hardy until his death. No one ever knows about these stories, but he needed to, and he followed that, and he brought some light to physicality. And if I'm talking about the invisible, I'm talking about the intangible, and we are instruments of God. I hope you would agree. To be played by God, to let our own music come through. Okay? Well, thank you for hearing me. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.